I want to share something really unique with you, and it's called How to Revive a Dying Presentation. In fact, I've had to dig really deep into my sales vault. Um, Not quite true. I've had to dig really deep into my vintage sales vault. You see, I've only been recording videos for about a decade now, and what I have recorded, I keep on improving on. But the reason why I've chosen this video is it's one of my world exclusive videos, and the information that I provide, I believe, is so good. All I've done is added subtitles because at that point, my Australian accent was a lot thicker than what it is today. So I'm providing you this video totally intact, but the reason why I want to give you such an old video is because the passion you will see that I have on the subject, and it's one of the reasons why I was able to convert so many of my dying sales, and they in turn became somebody that I sold rather than somebody that I walked away from. And if you follow my advice, you can do exactly the same thing. Hello, this is Peter Collins, and I want to share with you why this new online training program that I've produced is extremely unique and different to just about everything else that's been put together so far. In my 55 years of selling and more than 45 years of training salespeople, in fact, the last 30 years I've trained salespeople at the corporate level, I have so many different products and so many different modules which are unique to what I've done. In fact, this particular subject today is that unique that I first published it back in 1997 in Success magazine. The editor gave it a wow factor, and I've hardly changed anything since. In fact, if you look up Google, I'm the only one that actually produces any information on this subject around the world. The only one. So please enjoy what you're about to view. Hello, this is Peter Collins with another sales tip for the professional salesperson. In this module, I want to get the message across that the reason I created this sales training online course in the first place, Take Your Selling to the Next Level, was either to remind the professional seller of the things they used to do to sell better than others, as well as to share many of the things they were never initially taught or had not learned themselves. How to revive a dying sales presentation is just another module that sets this training program apart from all the others. It goes without saying that prospects are not all that sellers would like them to be. In fact, most prospects are less than ideal. Much of the time they can be difficult, unreasonable, cantankerous, complex, irrational, unfair, illogical, puzzling, intricate, unjust, and perplexing. And I know many a salesperson would agree with every part of that description. But why shouldn't they be? Until they get to know you and trust you, of course they'll put up a barrier of one kind or another. So until you learn how to revive a dying presentation and breathe back life into a dying sale, all you'll be able to do is ponder on what might have been if only you knew how. Here are 5 steps I suggest you should take to achieve this end.
The most important factor in this is persistence. This applies to either selling the call or, as in this case, resurrecting the call. But that persistence must be inoffensive and skillful, or it may rub your prospect up the wrong way. And if you persist with a smile, you won't offend the buyer. You could try this approach if you've met with a closed door here, and it's something like this. John, we've agreed on most of the reasons this would be a more than worthwhile investment at this point. Besides, we've also agreed that much of what we could install would remain intact for the future. Is there something I may have missed or overlooked that you should remind me of at this particular stage? The second point is you need to constantly intrigue. Now, this is achieved by constantly submitting new ideas, new reasons, and new facts and new figures. But please be careful not to argue your point. It won't get you too far. And don't labour the same point ever. So here's something you could try, and it goes like this. I appreciate you not only want the best for your company, and as you know, so do I, as our future ongoing relationship really depends on it. Can I ask you to think this over for the next 10 or 15 seconds and see if you can see a way forward that is suitable to both of us, both our immediate time frames and the time frame we both need to effectively install the project. The third point is you need constant new offensives. If the prospect decides not to buy, launch a fresh attack when the existing onslaught is turned back and the mood in the room feels more relaxed. If you move too early and you do this too fast, you could bring up an unexpected barrier. The fourth point is don't ever take rejection personally. Too many sellers give up after a few non-acceptances by the prospect. But don't take those refusals personally. A question as simple as why not can often uncover your prospect's concern. The why is a simple, inoffensive way of disarming your prospect. Another way is to ask, what can I do to change your mind, can also open new doors. The fifth point is to probe the prospect harder. At this point, the prospect needs to be disarmed, and there is no better phrase to achieve this end than to simply use this concept. Now, lead with, Mr. Jones, would you mind doing me a favour? Most times you'll hear, not at all. Then you follow with, would you mind telling me what I did wrong? The reason you didn't buy wasn't my fault entirely, and I'm sure of that. I'm also aware you've decided against buying, so please could you tell me what my weakness is? I'd appreciate that as a personal favour. Now, if you work this properly, you could retrieve as many as 2 out of 5 buyers because they'll literally sell themselves. Closing is not an accidental happening. It's about authority. The seller must establish himself as the authority. The buyer is not and cannot be the authority. If he is, you are merely the junior shop assistant accepting everything they dish out. And that's not professionalism in selling. Not at all.
I want to share something really unique with you, and it's called How to Revive a Dying Presentation. In fact, I've had to dig really deep into my sales vault. Um, Not quite true. I've had to dig really deep into my vintage sales vault. You see, I've only been recording videos for about a decade now, and what I have recorded, I keep on improving on. But the reason why I've chosen this video is it's one of my world exclusive videos, and the information that I provide, I believe, is so good. All I've done is added subtitles because at that point, my Australian accent was a lot thicker than what it is today. So I'm providing you this video totally intact, but the reason why I want to give you such an old video is because the passion you will see that I have on the subject, and it's one of the reasons why I was able to convert so many of my dying sales, and they in turn became somebody that I sold rather than somebody that I walked away from. And if you follow my advice, you can do exactly the same thing.